Hi guys, thanks for tuning into the channel today. This is clip 1 of 30 on everything you want to know about Royal Enfield Classic 500. Now these bikes came in originally at around about 2009, ran right up to 2020. So I would like to sort of break them up into different sections. So you got the first series, which you go 2009 roughly 2012. Then they had a run from 2012 up to 2017. They were the Euro 3s. And then from 2017 to 20, they go to Euro 4. Now, if you've got your eye on one of these bikes, there's no doubt about for eye candy. A Classic 500 is a very hard bike to beat. And it comes in a host of different flavours. So you got your chromes in the maroon, black, graphite, graphite. So you got maroon, black, graphite, you got the solid colours all the way through, you got the ones that were copied like on the reddish version, you got the special editions like the Dispatch, Pegasus and Trials. So if you're out there on the market hunting for one, you have no trouble coming across one, whatever sort of turns you on in that line. Sometimes when you get onto the more like the specials, well, they also come with saddlebags and that fitted to them. And when they were new, they were roughly around about, Classic 500 in a chrome was around about a bit over $9 grand, 9.25, and they push close to 10 grand if you got the presentation models, like a Dispatch or Pegasus and so on. Now, the riding experience on a Classic 500 is really nice, and more importantly, they got really good eye candy. So if you're out there and you're looking at one to buy, the best thing about them to look at, if you see compared to if you want to chase a classic BFC from the 60s or anything like that, is the Classic 500 came straight from the start with fuel injection. So fuel injection is very hard to beat on the bike, and that's the difference between buying an old Classic, which you're going to have trouble moving it out and getting the carby tickled away and getting a nice smooth ride when you're riding. Where on a Classic 500 you can do all that sort of stuff. So keep that in mind. You get the old world charm, and you get the new technology that ran with it, and that being fuel injection. And I think that was one of its plus points, really. Like, nothing better to get out there and turn the key, press a button, give it a minute or two to warm up, and fire off into the blue horizon. Now, in the beginning, when the Classic first hit the scene, it was just a disc brake up front, drum at the rear, and that ran all the way through till about 2017, and then they end up firing a disc brake onto the back section and then running dual channel ABS. So that was a big thing in those days, what happened there. But from 2009 right up to 2020, there wasn't much difference the way the bikes ran performance wise. I actually thought when I bought my first Euro 4 2017, and that was the one with the rear disc, I actually thought they were possibly quicker than the Euro 3s, but it all turned out one time when I pulled the cover off one that they'd reduced the sprocket size by 1 tooth, and they'd give it that more get up and go, and the feeling that the bike was a little bit quicker, which it actually was, but it was all due to a change of gearing. So apart from that, nothing much happened. It's hard to believe that any manufacturer could get out there and build a bike for 10 years, and they ended up near the end of its run, not a great deal of different from the start. So, well, that's what I thought after being on quite a lot of these bikes all the way through. But they did have supple changes, and you really got to know what they did and what they didn't. And like, I had the pleasure of owning those ones where I could go out there and know year by year how things have improved. And like, I can sort of pick them up fairly easy, where you could just look at them and say they all look the same, but they aren't really all the same. But even though visually they are, but there were little mods and all that done to it all the way through, and they never come out like, this is a 2017 model or 15 model and this is what it's got. There was none of that. They just brought them out and changed things on them on the way through, moved things around, switched things around, never sort of give any indication what was being done to the bike. So let's say you're on the fence and you can find a brand new old stock one. Well, that's probably not a bad way to go, like, if you can get one, but I don't think they've been making them now for a couple of years, so you have to be, lucky to score one of those. If you're going out to buy a used one, well, this is what this series is all about, is, if, for example, we'll start off I was, say for example, I was going to go out and buy myself a Classic 500 used, because I know I couldn't get any in the shop unless you find a new old stock one somewhere. Well, here's my way, or my guide to how I'd go about buying it, and then after that we're going to go right through the things as we work through the series and give the pluses and minuses. Okay, so let's see, for example, I'm the person ready to buy a bike. So I look in the local rag or whatever there is, Google, wherever we're going to check through one of, say for example, here in Australia, bike sales or Gumtree. So there's one there for sale which sort of tickles me fancy, and say for example, the price is reasonable for what he wants. Hasn't got many kilometres on it, just a few thousand. So what I would do, I'd get on the phone to him, providing I got phone access to him or mobile, give him a call and ask him, could I come and inspect the bike? So that sounds fairly simple, doesn't it? But there's more to this than what you think. Okay, you give him a ring and then you say to him, I wouldn't mind being able to do it, but I can't get around in the morning, and I'd like to come around 9 o'clock or something like that, and if possible I'd prefer to see what the bike's like with a cold motor. So in other words, you are going to get around there, and the first thing you'll do is put your hand on the motor itself and make sure it is cold. Because if they have a bit of problem, if they're selling a bike, what they will do, they'll pre-warm the bike up so that it's a little bit more pleasurable for the experience of the bloke coming in. Because once you see one of these for the first time, you are sort of wrapped in a look, and you can be easily drawn away by the eye candy and all the other sort of stuff and sort of miss out on the experience there. So the first thing is cold motor. So if you get on there and, they got what they call a little air tickler on them, and if it's cold, he may have to push that down and press the button and then kick it over that way. And, that's no big deal. Hold it down for 30 seconds roughly and then take it off and it'll just idle away. So you visually look at the bike and you think everything's right, and, you're interested in it. It's a nice colour. It looks like well looked after or something to that effect. What I'd be looking at, in my case, number 2 would be, is it fitted with a sports exhaust and air cleaner? So if it was, to be honest, I'd pass straight off. I would not buy one of these off a person with a sports exhaust and air cleaner, because the reason being with these Classic 500s, if you can find a bone stock one, and you'll find that person, you can guarantee that person would not have ridden that bike as hard as a person with a sports exhaust. Now, I put sports exhaust on them, tuners, everything like you could possibly imagine. And I know from a fact that in stock form, they're not all that inspiring with that exhaust system, but as soon as you put a sports exhaust on them, you hear the bellow they can sort of fire out. It gives you the urge to want to ride them quick. Now, say for example, the person did put a sports exhaust on it, but the bike had done 4,000 or 4 or 5,000 kilometres, then he put it on. Well, that's probably a totally different ball game. But if you asked him and set him up for a bit of a talk and say, oh yeah, when did you put the sports exhaust on? And he says, oh, well, I got it on it from new. I would definitely run out of the yard on that deal, because you would not believe how hard it is to run in a Royal Enfield. And by using the sports exhaust, it's not the way to go. You've got to run them in stock regardless of what people think. So we've got the sports exhaust out of the way, and we've got the cold motor, we've got the sports exhaust, but this one's got the stock on it. What else would you go for? Well, I tell you what I'd go for straight off. I would just go right down close to the framework and have a look behind both left and right foot pegs. What am I looking for? I'll tell you, quite simple. I'm looking for frame cracks, and in those particular bikes, they are, from stress. The welding, you'll see if you have a look really close, and this is what you've got to remember too. See, sometimes people don't sell a bike because they're your friend. They want to offload. So the thing is, they were documented. Quite a lot of it happened all the way through the models, that right behind those pegs, where the little frames near the back ones there, that was the part on both sides that cracked. And, there's a fair bit of work trying to weld them back together. So, the best idea, you look into that section there, and Oh, I haven't even heard anyone say any more about it, like, over the years on it. But like I said, I know the bikes well, extremely well, and if I was you, I would definitely be looking for on the welds there for cracks. And you won't have to look very far, because if there's any there, it'll be on either one side or both sides, or you might get the hat trick. So as far as that goes, good. So the next thing, say there's no cracks. So we've got a nice cold motor, it kicks over, no drama there. You've got stock exhaust, you've got no cracks in the frame. Next thing you do, you have to ask yourself, can you handle a bit of vibration or not? Now, if you say, no, I can't handle it, well, the fact is you might ride one of these and it might have a little bit, it might have a medium bit, or it might have a really a handshaker. So that's the thing. So, but if it doesn't worry you, well, no worries, like you'll be able to enjoy it. But if it was me and I wanted to test it, I wouldn't take any notice. I would not get up to the bloke and say to him, for example, any vibration in this bike, because straight away he's going to say to you, it's character, mate, it's character. It's not bloody character. Out of the 15 I had, probably 3 of them were virtually vibration free, believe it or not, and 3 or 4 of them were low, and then it worked its way up to some absolute terrors. So this is the way you check on the vibration, like put her on the centre stand straight off. When you kick it over, watch that front wheel. If the front wheel's fairly calm and just sits there and like has a little bit of bounce in it or a bit of vibration sort of in it, but nothing drama, you'll be right. But you know a real bad vibrating one of these bikes, you'll put it on the stand, it'll shake around all, that front wheel will be like it's doing a good jig. Then you'll get there and give that accelerator a little bit of a hit, and it'll run it along the cement, like just if you keep revving it. I've had them here where if you rev them, they will rev along, they will bounce along that cement after each rev. But that isn't the way that is one way you can tell if it's going to be a vibey or not. But this is the best idea. You ask the guy, can you go for a test ride? He says, yeah, you can take for a run. The first thing you do is take that bike out, like give it a bit of a run around town for 5 or 10 minutes, take it straight out and put it on 100 kilometres or 60 mile an hour. You'll know exactly then how it's going to perform. If it's got vibration, it's going to come into roughly 85 kilometres per hour, and by 100 kilometres an hour, it's playing well, and by the time you get to 110, it's singing a tune that you will say, this is not for me, or I like the character. So they're the things you've got to look for when you look at one of these. And, the other sort of stuff, what we're looking at the moment, there's no big drama on there because we can go through the series and I'll just tell you how to fix that. But as far as things go, here at the moment, you've got those first 4 things out of the way. If you're happy with that, go ahead and buy the bike. Come back to the channel. I'll be going through different things, what you can fix yourself, what to look for and stuff like that. And apart from that, I think you should find it an interesting series. So let's go.